Good evening, everyone. I want to start with a simple question. How many times have you promised yourself that this year would be different? Not next year, not someday. This year, you were going to wake up earlier. You were going to become healthier. You're going to read more books, build your business, save more money, spend more time with your family, finally chase that dream you've been carrying around for years. And then life happened. The alarm rang and you hit snooze. The workout became tomorrow. The book stayed on the shelf. The business idea stayed in your notebook. The dream stayed exactly where it had always been, in your imagination. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone, because the biggest obstacle to success isn't a lack of talent. It isn't a lack of intelligence. It isn't a lack of opportunity. The biggest obstacle is believing that change has to happen all at once. We look at successful people and see the finished masterpiece, but we never see the thousands of tiny brushstrokes that created it. We admire the mountain, but we ignore the climb. We celebrate the victory, but we overlook the discipline that made it possible. Tonight, I want to challenge a belief that has been holding so many people back. Success is not an event. Success is a process. It isn't something that suddenly appears one morning when the stars align. It is something you build one decision at a time, one habit at a time, one conversation at a time, one courageous step at a time. Imagine standing at the beginning of a 6-month journey. 6 months. That doesn't sound like a very long time. But think about this. 6 months from today, the calendar will move whether you change or not. The days will pass. The weeks will disappear. The seasons will change. The only question is this. When you arrive at that future version of yourself, will you meet someone who grew or someone who simply got older? Because there is a profound difference between aging and growing. Everyone ages, not everyone grows. Growth is intentional. Growth requires commitment. Growth demands that we become someone different from the person who walked into this room today. And here's the beautiful truth. You don't have to transform your entire life tonight. You only have to decide that you're done living by accident. Think about the greatest buildings ever constructed. None of them appeared overnight. Every skyscraper began with a blueprint. Every bridge began with an idea. Every masterpiece began with a blank canvas. The same is true for your life. Your future isn't built in giant moments. It's built in ordinary moments that most people ignore. The decision to wake up 30 minutes earlier. The decision to read one more chapter. The decision to make one more phone call. The decision to practice instead of making excuses. The decision to keep going when nobody is watching. Those decisions seem insignificant in the moment. But over 6 months, they become extraordinary. Small actions repeated consistently create massive results, not because they're dramatic, but because they're consistent. Consistency has a power that motivation can never replace. Motivation is exciting. It gives you energy. It makes you feel unstoppable. But motivation is temporary. Some mornings you'll wake up inspired. Other mornings you'll wake up tired. Some days you'll feel confident. Other days you'll question everything. If your future depends on how you feel, then your future will always be uncertain. But Discipline shows up even when emotions don't. Discipline whispers, keep going. When motivation disappears, discipline carries the dream. And perhaps that's the first lesson in this 6-month success plan. Stop waiting to feel ready. Ready is a myth. Confidence doesn't come before action. Confidence comes because of action. Every successful person you admire once stood exactly where you are now, unsure, nervous, questioning themselves, wondering if they were capable. The difference is they took the first step before they had all the answers. Too many people spend years preparing for a life they never begin. They collect courses, they buy planners, they watch videos, they read books, they make lists. And preparation becomes another form of procrastination. Knowledge is valuable, but knowledge without action changes nothing. Imagine buying the best map in the world. You frame it, you study it, you memorize every road, but you never leave your house. Will the map change your destination? Of course not. A map only matters when someone begins the journey, and your dreams only matter when you begin moving toward them. Here's something I've learned. Life rarely rewards perfect timing. Life rewards courageous movement. You don't have to know every step. You only need to know the next one, because clarity is often found while walking, not while waiting. Think about how many opportunities people miss because they're searching for certainty. They want guarantees. They want proof that they'll succeed. They want assurance that they won't fail. But life offers no such promises. Instead, life offers possibilities. And possibilities belong to those who are willing to move despite uncertainty. Over the next 6 months, you're going to face moments that test your commitment. There will be days when progress feels invisible. Days when you wonder if your effort is worth it. Days when nobody notices your sacrifices. Those moments matter more than the exciting ones, because character is not built during applause. Character is built during silence. When nobody is clapping, when nobody is encouraging you, when nobody even knows you're trying, that's when you discover who your becoming successes has an interesting habit. It hides behind repetition. The workout you almost skipped, the page you almost didn't read, the difficult conversation you almost avoided, the opportunity you almost ignored. Those are the moments that quietly shape your future. We often underestimate what one day can do, but one day becomes 1 week, 1 week becomes 1 month, 1 month becomes 6 months, and 6 months become a completely different life. Imagine meeting yourself 6 months from now. What would that person thank you for? Would they thank you for another season of excuses? Would they thank you for another chapter of hesitation? Or would they thank you for finally making the decision that changed everything? Because transformation always begins with a decision, not a perfect plan, not unlimited resources, not extraordinary talent. A decision that says, I refuse to settle. A decision that says, I will become the person my future requires. And that person isn't created by wishing. They're created by daily choices. Let's talk about identity for a moment. Most people focus on changing what they do. But lasting change begins with changing who you believe you are. If you believe you're someone who quits, every challenge becomes proof. If you believe you're someone who grows, every challenge becomes an opportunity. The stories you tell yourself become the life you live. So ask yourself, who have you been pretending to be? Have you been pretending that you're too old, too young, too busy, too unlucky, too ordinary? Those stories may feel real, but feelings are not facts. Your past explains you. It does not define you. The mistakes you've made are chapters. They are not the title of your story. The failures you've experienced are lessons. They are not your identity. Every morning gives you an opportunity to write a new page, not because yesterday didn't happen, but because tomorrow hasn't happened yet. There is incredible power in remembering that you are not trapped by your history. You are shaped by your choices, and every choice is a vote for the person you're becoming. So if this 6-month journey is going to matter, it begins here with one choice. Choose progress over perfection. Choose consistency over intensity. Choose courage over comfort. Choose growth over excuses. Because comfort has never built extraordinary lives. Comfort convinces you that staying where you are is safer than becoming who you're capable of being. But comfort has a hidden cost. It steals possibilities. It quietly replaces dreams with routines. It whispers maybe later. And before you know it, later becomes years. Don't let your greatest potential become your greatest regret. 6 months is long enough to build habits, long enough to rebuild confidence, long enough to learn new skills, long enough to restore your health, long enough to strengthen relationships, long enough to begin creating a life that reflects your deepest values instead of your temporary emotions. Will it be easy? No. Anything meaningful asks something of us. Growth asks for patience. Success asks for discipline. Excellence asks for consistency. But the price of staying the same is often far greater than the price of changing. One path requires temporary discomfort. The other requires lifelong regret. And if you have to choose between those two, choose the discomfort that leads to freedom. Because one day you'll look back on this moment. You'll remember the decision you made. You'll remember whether you walked away inspired for an evening or committed for a season. And my hope is that 6 months from now, when someone asks you what changed your life, you won't point to one dramatic event. You'll smile. And you'll say, I finally understood that extraordinary lives are built through ordinary days lived with extraordinary intention. That is where transformation begins. Not tomorrow, not next Monday, not when conditions are perfect. It begins the moment you decide that the life you've imagined deserves the effort required to build it. And that moment can be right here, right now, 6 months. That doesn't sound like a very long time, does it? In fact, if I asked you to imagine 6 months from today, most of you would probably smile and think that will be here before I know it. And that's exactly the point. Time doesn't ask for permission to move forward. It doesn't wait for us to feel ready. It doesn't pause because we're uncertain, afraid, or overwhelmed. Every sunrise quietly reminds us that another opportunity has arrived. And every sunset asks a simple question. What did you do with the time you were given today? Now let me ask you something. If 6 months are going to pass anyway, wouldn't it make sense to become someone completely different by the time they do? Not different because you pretended to be someone else. Different because you finally became the version of yourself that has been waiting beneath the excuses, beneath the fear, beneath the endless cycle of, I'll start tomorrow. The greatest transformation in life rarely happens in a single dramatic moment. Movies make us believe that everything changes overnight. One speech changes a life. One opportunity creates instant success. One decision fixes everything. Real life doesn't work that way. Real life changes quietly. It changes in ordinary mornings when no one is watching. It changes during moments when you choose discipline over distraction. It changes every time you make a decision that your future self will thank you for success isn't built in one extraordinary day. It's built in hundreds of ordinary days that most people overlook. Think about a seed planted beneath the soil. The moment it's planted, nothing seems different. The ground looks exactly the same. Days pass. Weeks pass. Sometimes even months pass before anyone notices anything. But beneath the surface, something incredible is happening. Roots are growing. Strength is developing. Life is preparing itself for the moment it finally breaks through the ground. Your personal growth works the same way. There will be days when you'll wonder if your effort matters. You'll wake up early. You'll study. You'll practice. You'll improve your habits. You'll keep your promises to yourself. And at first, nothing around you will seem different. People won't suddenly applaud you. The world won't immediately recognize your effort. Results won't appear overnight. But beneath the surface, your roots are growing. You're becoming stronger. You're developing resilience. You're building the kind of character that can support the life you've always dreamed about. The mistake most people make is giving up before the roots have a chance to grow. They mistake invisible progress for no progress. They expect immediate rewards for long-term investments. Imagine going to the gym for one day and expecting to become healthy. Imagine reading one book and expecting to become an expert. Imagine saving money for 1 week and expecting financial freedom. We laugh because we know it doesn't work that way. Yet somehow, when it comes to our dreams, we expect instant transformation. Growth has never operated on the schedule of impatience. Growth rewards consistency. Every meaningful achievement in life asks the same question. Can you keep showing up? Not when you're excited, not when everyone believes in you, not when success is guaranteed. Can you keep showing up when nothing seems to be changing? Can you remain committed when nobody notices your effort? Because those moments define your future far more than the moments when everything feels easy. Most people are waiting for motivation. They're waiting to feel inspired. They're waiting until they finally have enough confidence. But confidence is not the starting point. Action is. Confidence is simply the result of keeping promises to yourself. Every time you say you're going to do something and actually do it, you send yourself a powerful message. I can trust myself. Think about how valuable that is. How many promises have you made to yourself over the years? I'm going to start exercising. I'm going to stop procrastinating. I'm going to learn that skill. I'm going to spend more time with my family. I'm going to stop settling. Every promise you keep strengthens your identity. Every promise you break weakens it. This isn't about impressing other people. It's about becoming someone who believes their own words. Integrity isn't only about being honest with others. It's about being honest with yourself. When you tell yourself you'll begin tomorrow, do you believe it? When you promise yourself this year will be different, do your actions agree? Because your future doesn't listen to your intentions. Your future responds to your habits. Habits are powerful because they don't ask whether you feel like showing up today. They simply become part of who you are. Imagine brushing your teeth. You don't debate it every morning. You don't negotiate with yourself. You simply do it. Now imagine applying that same level of automatic consistency to learning, exercising, reading, creating, saving money, improving relationships, or developing your skills. What would your life look like after 6 months? What would happen if excellence became as automatic as your daily routine? The distance between where you are and where you want to be is often much smaller than you think. The challenge isn't the distance. The challenge is consistency. People overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 week, but they dramatically underestimate what they can accomplish in 6 months. 1 page a day becomes hundreds of pages. 1 workout becomes dozens. 1 conversation becomes stronger relationships. 1 disciplined decision becomes a completely different identity. Transformation isn't magic. Transformation is mathematics. Small improvements multiplied over time produce extraordinary outcomes. 1% better each day may not seem exciting, but over months, those small percentages compound into remarkable change. The problem is that compounding is invisible at first. That's why so many people quit. They don't realize they're standing inches away from a breakthrough. Think about water heating in a pot. The temperature rises 1 degree at a time. Nothing appears different. 30 degrees, 40 degrees, 60 degrees, 90 degrees, still just water. Then suddenly, at 100 degrees, everything changes. It begins to boil. But did the transformation happen at 100 degrees? No, it happened because of every degree that came before it. Your success works exactly the same way. Every disciplined morning matters. Every difficult decision matters. Every uncomfortable choice matters. Every hour invested matters. You may not see immediate evidence, but every action raises your temperature. Eventually, people will call your success sudden. They'll say you were lucky. They'll wonder where you came from. They'll notice the breakthrough, but never the thousands of invisible decisions that created it. That's okay. Your responsibility isn't to convince people. Your responsibility is to keep growing. One of the biggest distractions in modern life is comparison. We compare our beginning to someone else's middle. We compare our struggles to someone else's highlight reel. We compare our chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. And then we wonder why we feel discouraged. Comparison steals energy that could have been invested in growth. Someone else's journey has nothing to do with yours. Your race isn't against another person. It's against yesterday's version of yourself. Can you become a little wiser? today? Can you become a little stronger? Can you become a little kinder? Can you become a little more disciplined? That's enough, because improvement isn't about perfection, it's about direction. A person moving slowly toward a meaningful destination will always arrive somewhere greater than someone standing still waiting for perfect conditions. Don't wait until everything is easy. Don't wait until fear disappears. Don't wait until doubt leaves your mind. Fear often walks beside meaningful progress. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is deciding that your future matters more than your comfort. Every meaningful opportunity will require discomfort. Learning feels uncomfortable. Growth feels uncomfortable. Responsibility feels uncomfortable. But staying the same has its own discomfort. The question isn't whether you'll experience pain. The question is which pain you're willing to accept. The temporary discomfort of growth, or the lasting disappointment of unrealized potential. Imagine waking up 6 months from today, knowing you gave your best every single day. Not perfection, just honest effort. Imagine looking in the mirror and recognizing someone who keeps promises, someone who follows through, someone who no longer waits for permission to become extraordinary. That person already exists inside you. They're simply waiting for today's decisions to reveal them. Your future identity isn't created by wishing harder. It's created by choosing differently. Every choice writes another sentence in the story of your life. Every habit becomes another paragraph. Every disciplined day becomes another chapter. Eventually, those chapters become your legacy. People often ask when the perfect time to change is. The answer surprises them. The perfect time isn't when life becomes easier. The perfect time is the moment you become tired of living beneath your potential. That moment doesn't require applause. It doesn't require permission. It only requires honesty. Honesty about where you are. Honesty about where you want to go. And honesty about the daily actions required to close the gap. Dreams don't become reality because they're beautiful. Dreams become reality because someone is willing to pay the price of consistency, patience, and relentless commitment day after day. Even when progress feels invisible, even when nobody is cheering, even when the results haven't arrived yet, because they understand that 6 months of intentional action isn't simply about changing a schedule or building better habits. It's about becoming the kind of person whose actions and character naturally create the life they once believed was beyond their reach.